Welcome to the Virginia is for Laughers podcast, brought to you by X2 Comedy. If you're looking to get more out of your Shenandoah Valley experience, then this is the podcast for you. You'll meet interesting people, musicians, and comedians that perform here and find out more about what you can do and see. Whether you live here or plan to visit, listen to explore what makes our unique slice of heaven. Now here's your host, Don Davis Womack.
Hello, laughers. Get ready to meet the mastermind behind an immersive experience that promises to transport you into the haunting world of literature's enigmatic figure, Edgar Allan Poe. We'll delve into the mysterious, the disturbing, and the mesmerizing as we chat with the one and only Brian Clowdus. Brian is no stranger to crafting immersive experiences that transport audiences into the heart of captivating narratives. With an impressive portfolio of immersive productions, he has a knack for blurring the lines between reality and fantasy. His latest endeavor, the Edgar Allan Poe Experience, is a journey that promises to immerse visitors in the dark and atmospheric tales that have left an indelible mark on American literature. Set within the atmospheric backdrop of the Virginia Quilt Museum in Harrisonburg, Virginia, this experience is poised to captivate and intrigue just in time for the Halloween season. Welcome to the show, Brian. It's great to have you on today.
Thank you for having me. Excited to be here.
I'm excited to have you here too. This is really remarkable. I have to tell you, for me personally, Brian, spooky stuff kind of creeps me out. It really
Good.
does.
That's the point.
I see that. I mean, the scariest thing I really do for Halloween is take ghost tours. I'm getting ready for this interview, though, and what you're bringing to us is a whole new level of scary, and I'm excited that you're bringing it to the Virginia Quilt Museum. This is going to be something a lot of laughers, I think, in our area are going to enjoy. And I have friends and family that are way into Halloween. So I imagine there's going to be a lot of interested people that want to see what you're going to do. So let's get into this, shall we?
Awesome. Let's do it. I'm ready.
All right. First question for you I have is, Edgar Allan Poe's works are known for their dark and gothic nature. How did you approach creating an immersive experience that captures the essence of his writing?
Yeah, so I've always been a fan of Poe. And unlike you, I sort of love the dark. Naturally, I'm like you. I'm like a happy-go-lucky person. I love laughing. I love joy. So I've always been really interested in, when I create things, kind of diving into the dark stuff. And with Edgar Allan Poe, I mean, he's undoubtedly, the father of, Southern Gothic literature. And, I've always been really interested in his stories, but also about his life. Like most, famous artists, he lived a very sad and dark life and really didn't become ultra famous until after his death. So I've always loved this idea of creating an homage to him and his work. And with any experience that we create, I always want to take the things that everyone knows, like what are his most iconic stories, and start from there. And, when we started researching his most iconic stories, I mean, I think everyone knows The Raven, right? Mm-hmm. That is probably number one. Then close to that is The Telltale Heart. I mean, we can all remember that story of the heartbeat underneath the floor. And then we chose two other stories, The Mask of Red Death, and then The Fall of the House of Usher. So those are the four stories that we used to create the fabric. And then we took, I always like to go, what is the most dramatic part of his life? And it was really how he died. He died completely alone. He died in a hospital. So we wanted to take this idea of his final days in the hospital and him being comforted by his most iconic stories. So that's really where we started in creating this experience.
Wow. Yeah, this is going to be really incredible. And I think the Virginia Quilt Museum seems like an unconventional yet fitting setting for an Edgar Allan Poe themed event. What inspired you to choose this location?
Yeah, you definitely don't think about Edgar Allan Poe in a quilting museum. But, The Quilting Museum actually reached out to me. I was doing a production of the Sleepy Hollow Experience in Virginia last year, and one of their board members came and saw the show. And they thought, oh, how cool to use our setting for a theatrical backdrop. I think like so many museums now, there's a real struggle to get young people in the door. I always say we've got to make history cool, history sexy, museums cool. And so they invited me out for a site visit. And then, immediately they said, hey, this used to be a Civil War hospital. And then my radar goes up. I'm like, ooh, that's all of a sudden creepy, And then there's also a jail cell on the first floor of the Quilting Museum. So, my brain started to kind of turn. And I thought, okay, this is a hospital. And the house is gorgeous. I mean, it's a beautiful Victorian vibe house with these awesome quilts everywhere, with a gorgeous staircase, beautiful hardwood floors. And I started thinking, this would lend itself well to an Edgar Allan Poe experience, the Virginia ties, the hospital ties. It just kind of all came together. And when I pitched this idea, they said, absolutely, let's go with this. And a lot of times people say, oh, well, if you're going to do an experience in a quilting museum, does it have to have a quilt tie-in? No, it doesn't, but the goal is to get people to come to the museum, experience this really cool thing and say, oh, I've got to come back here during the day and explore the quilts as well. So we really always want to be good partners and good stewards of the community to introduce people who would never come to a quilt museum otherwise to say, hey, come back and experience this during the day as well. But also how cool for like the quilting community to come and see something theatrical like this brought to life in a place that they're used to coming. So it's really twofold.
I agree. I think this is incredibly creative. And, I'm not the Halloween person, but I'm very pumped that you're bringing this to our community because, again, I think a lot of people are going to enjoy this very much so. And I've noticed a trend in immersive experiences becoming increasingly popular. What do you think draws people to these types of events?
I think the cool thing with immersive experiences is it's something you can't get from sitting on your couch watching Netflix, right? I always say that in live entertainment, you've got to do what film and TV is not doing, and that is actively breaking down that fourth wall and making the guest an active participant in the show. I always say, our leading lady or leading man is the audience. The audience is the most important character in any of our experiences. So we're always trying to figure out how do we put the audience at the forefront of everything that we're doing. And also, like a lot of art forms, theater is really struggling now. I don't think people are as interested in coming and sitting in a dark theater and waiting for something to happen. And also theater has this connotation of just being for a theater audience. We take a lot of pride in saying, hey, if you hate theater, you're going to love our experiences. If you love theater, you're going to love our experiences. So we really try to hit every demographic possible and break down that sort of stuffy fourth wall that theater is and really, reinvent what theater and entertainment and experiences can be because it's truly for everyone. And I think now more than ever, we need an escape and we need something that can build bridges. I always say that art is this incredible bridge builder, and it doesn't matter your religion, your political affiliation. You can come and share this communal experience together because the hopeless romantic in me thinks that we're all a lot more similar than we're different. I think I agree. Media and politics, they want us to be divided, but I'm like, oh my God, let's put all that aside and for an hour come and be immersed in this incredible experience, have some laughs, have some screams, and really enjoy this communal experience. Because I think that as humans, we need that human connection to really thrive and remind us that things are not as bad as they really seem to be. There's still so many good times to be had, I always say.
You're a man after my own heart. I'm like, the whole time you're talking, I'm like, preach, Brian, preach.
Yes, absolutely. I'm here. Hey, we'll do a little sermon. I'm here for it,
I couldn't agree more. I find that we all share our humanity. I mean, regardless of our religious and political views. And we come to those because of the experiences we've had in our lives, our beliefs and value systems. And we're shaped by our own history, so to speak. So I couldn't agree with you more about all of what you just shared there. And this is a unique experience focusing around the Edgar Allan Poe stories. I'd like to explore more. He explores the human psyche and the supernatural. How does this immersive experience engage with those themes? Can you speak on that a little bit more?
Yeah, so I'm going to dive in a little bit more about the plot, and I think that'll answer a lot of these questions. So the whole setup is that you are coming to the insane asylum, the hospital where Edgar had his, last 24 hours alive. And you're greeted by the doctor and the nurses. They're in like white lab coats. And they let you know, hey, we are about to admit a very special patient tonight, Edgar Allan Poe. And, you are also, the patients at the insane asylum. And so, Poe in his head thinks that he's coming to a dinner party. So we say, please play along with the ruse, go along with whatever Edgar Allan Poe asks of you. And we go along on a journey following Edgar Allan Poe, and you enter into a room for therapy or, something that he's getting in the asylum. And you enter into Poe's mind, and the characters transform into his most iconic stories. So one nurse will transform into the Raven. The doctor will transform into the inspector in A Telltale Heart. Another nurse will transform into the sister in The Fall of the House of Usher. And another nurse will transform into the Mask of the Red Death. So when Poe looks at the doctor or the nurses, they transform into his, what he created. And that's really how he copes with losing his mind, grappling with mortality, is that he enters into his stories. And this whole idea of, did his brain kill him? I know that might sound a little bit dramatic, but, he was so brilliant, he almost could not cope with life. He was a known alcoholic. He had to do these other things to really cope with life, because it's like everything couldn't cohabitate in his head. He couldn't be sane and have all these incredible stories going on. So, and there's this really beautiful moment where the things that destroyed him, his stories, his art, are ultimately what comforts him and, allows him to leave this earth. So, and, also I love the idea of redemption and, not passing judgment. Who knows where Poe went? Maybe he was a good man. We don't really know where he went or what his beliefs were. But, I always believe that, like, I hope he gets to go to heaven and gets redemption or, has this wonderful, beautiful afterlife. So we really try to keep it, ambiguous, because I always say the best art and experiences create conversation. They're not telling you exactly what to think. And it's creepy, but it's not like you're not going to be like chased with chainsaws, so it's not like
thank God.
I love like a good old redneck chainsaw, haunted trail, but it's not. I'm from Alabama, but it's not going to have that vibe. It's much more spooky and cool, and also like history buffs are going to enjoy the historical aspects of learning a little bit about Edgar's, life and his final days.
Mm. Yeah, that's really amazing. I'm thinking about these actors right now transforming into characters in the same room. Where do you find these actors, by the way?
Yeah, so I mean, we're really fortunate that we have a national network of talent at this point, but we really try to cast a lot of local talent. We've been producing in Virginia for about 4 years now. So we're actually casting the production as we speak. So the majority of talent will come from the Virginia area. I think regional actors are used to driving. So we have a big talent pool in the Lynchburg area. We have talent in the Nelson County area. And they're excited to do a production, in a new town. I mean, it's about anywhere from a 45 to an hour drive for these actors, but they carpool and they love it. So we're excited to, see also possibly what new talent may come from, auditions.
Oh, that's so exciting. I hadn't realized that you were pulling from the local talent. That is amazing. So you work with a casting agency to do that, or how do you just put out?
We do it in-house.
Okay.
We have a casting database from our past shows. And, I always say as a producer, you outsource the stuff that either you're not good at or you don't like. And I love casting and I'm good at it. So that's something that I do. I don't love accounting. I don't love legal, so I hire accountants and lawyers to deal with all that. Then I get to do the fun stuff. You know what I
mean? I love that. As a performer and actor myself, it just gets me all giddy to know that you're giving the local talent some opportunities to perform right here in their home state. Yeah.
Well, and I always say, if the talent is there and rich, why would you not give local artists those opportunities? And I think, interestingly enough, post-pandemic, I think a lot of people moved from these major cities like New York and LA and came back home because they really reevaluated what was important to them. Family, I think everyone craved a sense of community. In y'all's little town, the historic downtown is just so freaking cute. I think a lot of people are like, oh my goodness, for what I spend in New York, I can have a much better life, in a smaller town. So I think that's when we're seeing this huge resurgence of small town America just explode because people, they want a different quality of life. I think we all kind of took a restock of what was important to us,
I can agree with that 100%. And I can see that having an effect on X2 comedy too, as we continue to help develop the local comedic talent here and then bring in regional and national touring comics. You just see and sense that people are enjoying having these kinds of experiences in these smaller towns and enriching their lives and bringing in folks like you or just it's amazing what's happening right now. And this immersive experience you have now, it includes various elements like live performances and interactive installations that you've been kind of talking about. And you've mentioned some of those elements. What I'm finding interesting is that we're doing this during the Halloween season, which of course is perfect for exploring the eerie and the mysterious. Now, it's Halloween. Edgar Allan Poe is dark. How are you, though, infusing the atmosphere with the seasonal spookiness of Halloween?
Yeah, I mean, I think, again, Edgar Allan Poe, super dark. Everything is going to lay into kind of that spooky vibe. And also, we have all of our actors are also singers and musicians. So, we're going to have that live sung quality. A lot of the story is told through music and dance and movement as well. And I think, we really like to lay into kind of that haunted house atmosphere. We use tons of LED lighting. We use fog machines. The costuming is very dark and gothic. So even if you don't know Edgar Allan Poe, you could come to this experience and it would inherently feel creepy. The Virginia Quilting Museum is creepy. It's cool, but you drive past that and you're like, that's a haunted house. You know what I mean? So just by looking at it. So we're gonna amp up the creep factor, and that's so easy to do with red lights and fog, and walking into this staircase with doctors and nurses glaring at you. So that atmosphere inherently feels Halloween or creepy, and we really are specific about when we produce. Edgar Allan Poe experience, we could do it in the spring, but it doesn't have the same vibe that it does during Halloween. And, we're finding also that shows around the holidays, they're ready to do it. And they're also ready to spend money. I think they're everybody knows Halloween and Christmas, they're going to invest because it's seasonal, it's the end of the year, it's celebratory. But I think the setting does so much for you, creating that fall spooky vibe, And like I said, you literally feel like you're walking into kind of a haunted house. So you're already, and there's a jail cell. Remember, there's a jail cell on that first floor.
Well, I don't know if you know this, but they do have a ghost in there, supposedly.
Yeah, I was excited to learn that, I was like, hopefully they'll come hang out with us,
Yeah, it's a soldier that died at the Civil War hospital. I believe his nickname is JoJo. I think that's what they call him. So,
I love JoJo.
JoJo. It seems to be a kind ghost. So he's probably going to be getting a kick out of this experience.
Totally. Hopefully he'll be haunting or doing some stuff that'll make it extra spooky.
Oh, laughers. This is going to be a one-of-a-kind experience, y'all. Now, Brian, as someone experienced in creating immersive productions, what challenges did you face in bringing the world of Edgar Allan Poe to life?
I think the challenge with anything like this is how do you honor the historical accuracy, and then also make it dramatic. There are some Poe cult followers that'll be like, oh, well, this isn't right and that's not right. There's always the naysayers. And I say, okay, we start with what we know, what is history. We start with the literature, and then we make it dramatic. We theatricalize it because we want it to be compelling, So I always say, how fun to take that seed of what we know and then expand on it and make it a little bit more dramatic, a little bit more thrilling, a little bit more sensational, because there's a lot we don't know about Edgar's last days and a lot we don't know about his life and why he created these stories. So by being able to take that, theatrical, dramatic liberty, we're able to honor him and the history, but also make it, incredibly theatrical as well. And also there's that fine line of you want the audience to have interpretation, but you don't want them to be confused. There's that real danger. I've been to some experiential, just weird stuff where I didn't even know what the heck was going on. I was like, I don't need to pay $40 to see somebody roll around in the floor and be a tomato for 50 minutes. I want to be entertained and I want to feel like I get the narrative because you don't want your audience to feel stupid. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And if I go see something and I feel stupid, I'm not going back because I'm not stupid. I'm smart. You know what I mean?
Right. I agree with that.
So it's that real fine balance of it being cool, but you want it to be understandable,
Yeah. I like that a lot. And I'm also, as you're talking and thinking about these actors and this kind of experience, you're casting for it right now. And having, being an actor myself, I'm thinking, how do you prepare for this production? How do they prepare? And you as a director, what all is involved with that? And what's like typical prep time? And what does it look like? Tell me about that.
Yeah, so all the actors have to be incredible at improv.
Okay.
We have a script, but I say the script is kind of like the skeleton and the guideline. Because when you're literally inches from the audience and you're talking to them directly. So you've got to be able to quickly think on your feet and quickly adapt the script to basically what the audience is giving you. So if you're one of those actors that just likes a script and doesn't like things to change at all, you shouldn't work with me. You know what I mean? But if you love improvising and you love it being different every night and you love thinking on your feet, you will have the time of your life. But we rehearse these very quickly. So I expect actors to come day one completely off book from their script, knowing their music, and we mount these in a week. Because we've got 5 productions running this fall. So literally every single Thursday from mid-September to mid-October, we're opening a new show. So we literally have a week to mount all of these shows. The actors have to come in day one ready to go. And that's why casting is so important. I love working with new talent, emerging talent, but in a week, I can't teach you how to act. In a week, I can help shape your character and shape the process and create a really cool ensemble, but you got to be ready to go.
That is good to know. Yeah, I was thinking the speed and all of that. So that makes it perfectly clear to me how you're working and what you need. And there are definitely actors I ain't even know here in this town that could be very great for that experience, for sure.
Oh, well, send me names. I would love to know, honestly. We're still actively casting. So I think any local that you think would be great, I would love to, get their info. Yeah, but they've got to be amazing actors. Everybody has to be a really strong singer. Everybody sings a solo during the show. If you can play an instrument, that's a huge bonus because we love live instruments. And then 2 of the roles are very strong dancers. The Mask of Red Death is a male dancer and Raven's like a dancer. So, those are the physical and vocal and, requirements. And you got to have fun. I'm not in the business of bad attitudes. So if you got a bad attitude, you can just walk. I just refuse to deal with it anymore, And I refuse to also have, rehearsals be like therapy time. I'm like, go shopping or go get you a dang therapist. It ain't me. You know what I mean? I was like, we're here to work. It's like Lance.
Oh, artists, we love you so. I'm one of you.
Yes.
Yes.
But in a week, we don't have time to sit around and do therapy.
That's right. I agree with you. I want to know, what type of audience do you envision being most intrigued by the Edgar Allan Poe experience?
So our goal is to create experiences for everyone. And we really see every single demographic in our show. It's always very important for us that we create a family-friendly atmosphere. A lot of times we've got parents saying, "Hey, what is the minimum for age?" So there's no adult content, no bad language. So I always say, if your kids like spooky things, they will love Edgar Allan Poe experience. If they're afraid of the dark, they probably will not like Edgar Allan Poe experience. I know like my niece and nephews, they love creepy and ghost stories. I think if your kids love creepy, they'll love this. And we see a lot of like, anywhere from like 20s, teens, tweens, 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s. We really see every age demographic, in our audiences. And the cool thing is the experience is under an hour long. So it's that perfect length of time that if you don't want a 3-hour show, you can come and experience this 60-minute really cool thing. And also, like, it's a really great like destination too. Even if you're from out of town, you can come, you can have dinner, you can experience the show, and then still drive home and not be, too late getting home. So I do think we have to acknowledge that we're a really impatient society at this point.
Yes.
I don't think we want instant gratification. We want to be scared. We want to laugh, and we want to cry all in 60 minutes. And you can do that at the Edgar Allan Poe experience. And also, we have, cocktails and food. So it has that sort of like cocktail party vibe as well. And it really is great for everybody. But if you're afraid of the dark, that's probably the one thing that you might get a little bit spooked out. But it's also cool, and the talent's going to be amazing. So hopefully everybody comes and sees it.
Yeah, I think it's going to be great. And you have audience participation that you're alluding to.
Yep.
And I want to talk a little bit more about how can the attendees become part of the narrative during the event? Like, what does that look like in a little bit more detail?
Yeah, so, we have 2 ticket tiers. We have a VIP ticket, and then we have just a general admission ticket. And the VIP ticket, you get access to the experience 30 minutes before. And this is where you get the truly up close and personal, completely improvised vibe. So if you're opting for that VIP ticket, it's going to be a smaller audience. It's going to be intimate, and it will be completely improvised, as if you're entering like a spooky haunted cocktail party. So if you thrive in that environment and you want that ultra VIP exclusive experience, you have to get the VIP ticket. If you want the general admission and kind of a little bit more of like a wallflower or fly on the wall, you really choose how you want to participate. Our actors, you can tell if an audience wants to be in the show or an audience wants to observe. And we really tell our actors, don't put people on the spot that don't want to be put on the spot. The people who want to be in the show, they're going to push to that front line and make sure that everyone is looking at them. And a lot of times we have audience members come in like full costume, almost like they are from the time period. So typically those audience members, they want to be an active participant in the show. So that's why it's really important to, train your actors to have that, sense of, if people just want to watch, don't mess with them, acknowledge them. But if people want to be in the action, pull them up and make them, kind of a part of the show. And the cool thing is you could see this production every single night, and it would feel completely different based on the audience. We're following that skeletal script and that ground plan, but the actors have freedom to change based on, what the audience is giving them that night. So it's really, we see a lot of people come multiple times just because they want to see the differences.
Oh, yeah, that is the beauty of improv art is it's not the same. This is a combination of what you get out of live art with improv is not replicatable is the word I'm looking for. Yeah. That's going to be really great. Beyond the Edgar Allan experience, your portfolio includes a range of immersive productions. What drives your passion for creating these unique experiences?
Yeah, so for me, I'm inspired by location, environment, and material. Those are the 3 key ingredients for me. At this point in my career, I'm a little bit selfish. I don't produce in places that I don't instantly have a gut reaction to. I have a very strong gut. I can immediately tell if I'm supposed to be somewhere. I know that might kind of sound like a little woo-woo, but I can really sense energy pretty quickly. So when I go on a site visit, I like to just get the vibe of the town and the vibe of the location and the vibe of the people I'm going to be partnering with. And if that red flag goes up, I'll just politely find a way to say thank you, but no thank you. But if I love the town, that gets me excited, number one, And then number two, the location has got to be evocative and artistically inspiring. And typically, the show comes out of that location. So I don't go to these site visits saying, okay, we're going to try to force this production into this space. I go with a completely open mind and get inspired by the space. And then number three, the material. I've got to be excited about the show. And the show has to be something that is commercially viable. I'm an artist, but I'm also a businessman. And if the show is not going to sell tickets and the show doesn't have some really commercial hook that everyone knows, I'm not going to produce it. So that's why you'll see in my portfolio, most of those experiences are very well-known things. Christmas Carol, Sleepy Hollow, Edgar Allan Poe. I say things are commercial and have mass appeal for a reason because everyone knows them and wants to, get to know them in a different way. So rather than reinventing the wheel completely with new stories, we like to shake up stories that everyone knows in a new and cool light. And our hook is always that commercial thing. Everyone knows who Edgar Allan Poe is. Everyone. I would be shocked to find out if people didn't know. So then you take that thing that everyone knows and you weave it into a new location. Virginia Quilting Museum used to be a Civil War hospital. How cool. And then you create this on your feet immersive experience and people get to know something they thought they knew in a new light.
That's brilliant. That is just absolutely brilliant. I love your approach, actually, to what you're doing as a producer myself. I think that that's absolutely brilliant. Speaking of those immersive experiences, I was looking in preparation for this interview today at your website, and I noticed you have a Gilligan Island experience.
Yes.
Now, it's only running right now in August. People might miss it. I'm wondering two things. One, can you describe it? And two, will you be doing it again? Because I'm going to miss it this round, but I want to do that.
Gilligan's Island is actually currently running and it goes through the 20th. So only 5 shows left. So those our lifers listening to this will probably miss it. And that really goes in line with what I just said. Wisp Resort, they are a ski resort in Deep Creek, Maryland. They're sisters with Wintergreen Resort, which is in, Nelliesford, Virginia. I've produced at Wintergreen before. We did a really big production of Sound of Music a few years ago. And they said, okay, this was a big hit here. Would you come visit Wisp, our sister resort in Deep Creek, Maryland? And I, went for a site visit. And, we were initially looking at the ski slopes during the off season. And they said, by the way, we just so happen to have the world's only mountaintop whitewater rafting course. And I said, hold on, slow your roll. We need to go see that. So we went and I said, oh my gosh, I was like, this is what makes y'all unique. And I said, this feels like Gilligan's Island. I feel like I've literally just been dropped on, the island. And lo and behold, there is a musical version of Gilligan's Island. So, we looked at the community and it seemed to be a good fit. We're producing the musical, but creating it with the whitewater rafting course is our backdrop. So putting it in a setting that is very unique and has this real tropical vibe and laying into it. But it was a lot of fun and different, very unique to what an intimate Edgar Allan Poe experience is going to be like, but still the ingredients were there. Location, material, and the environment. All of those, kind of really gelled to create a really fun experience. And that part of Maryland, Deep Creek, it is beautiful. It is gorgeous. And, it's only a 3-hour drive. It really is. It is. It might be a little bit closer for you because I know it's 3 hours from Nelliesford. So I think you're a little bit closer.
Yeah, around, I think somewhere around that. Maybe save a
Two and
little
a
bit of
half,
time.
maybe.
Yeah. 3
I
hours.
I always get a stop and get a Starbucks when I'm driving that way. So
Well, the second part of that most important question is, are you going to do it again next year or something?
maybe. I mean, here's the thing.
Maybe.
We're always. It's the first time we've done Gilligan's Island, so it would have to be in a location that made sense. We probably would not do it in Deep Creek again. We would do a different title in that same location. But once we do shows once, they become part of our portfolio. So when we go to these, unique locations that have a cool, say, waterfront or a cool island vibe, we always have those shows kind of in our back pocket, because once we've produced a show once, we have the costumes, we have the understanding of how the show works. So that way we're able to produce it for less cost, and also produce it with a little bit less effort, especially if we can get the same cast or the majority of the same cast back. We're rehearsing less. They know the show. We have the costume. So our catalog expands, with each new production and each new venue. So I've loved it. It was a lot of fun to produce.
Yeah. So you're saying there's a chance.
Hey, there's always a chance, Always a chance.
Where do you store all these costumes and equipment? How does that work?
We've got storage units all over the country. It's kind of insane. So we kind of have two main hubs. We do a lot of shows in Texas and we do a lot of shows in Virginia. So we have storage in Texas and Virginia. That kind of puts us, on each almost coast of the country. And then I have a storage unit in Florida as well. So we've got Florida, we've got Virginia, and we've got Texas. And here's the thing, storage units are nothing, So it's like for a couple of $100, you can store these things. And, I love antiquing and junking. So now I've got like 3 places to antique and junk when I'm there as well. So.
Do you have scenarios where one costume you need is in Texas, but the production's in Florida, and then you got to send somebody to get it and send it?
It happens. Yes, it happens all the time. We forget, and we're getting, a little bit more organized, but we'll be like, oh my gosh, those are in Texas. And we have people that, are kind of like our local reps, or that we know that have the keys. So they would go to storage and stick it in a box and mail it to us. So, but yes, sometimes it's like, oh crap, we thought that was in Virginia, but it's really in Florida.
That's great. Before I ask this last question, we wrap up here. Depending on when we release this, I'm just curious if we can help get some more information out to possible talent, or if they missed this one for this particular experience, but they're interested in performing or auditioning for you. How would an actor go about doing that?
Yeah, so we are always looking for new talent. And like you said, if not for Edgar Allan Poe, for any new experience. And, this is really for anywhere across the country. If we're bringing out of town artists, we house you. And the best way is to shoot your headshot and resume to casting@brianclowdus.com. So that's just casting at BrianClowdus.com. And we'll let you know what we're casting for, or we'll put you on file and keep you posted for future opportunities. And that really goes for, stage managers, lighting and sound designers. We're always looking for technicians as well. So if you like theater, if you work in events, any of that type of work, please hit us up, because, everything is figure outable and we like to hire for passion. And then if there's a learning curve on some of the training, that's the easy part. But if you think this sounds fun, hit us up at the casting email.
That's great. So, laughers, be sure to take note of that. If you have any of those skills, now you have a possible connection and future opportunities. So, definitely take advantage of that. And, Brian, as we wrap up our conversation, how can the laughers get tickets to the Edgar Allan Poe experience at the Virginia Quilt Museum?
Yeah, so just go to our website, brianclowdus.com, BrianClowdus. You get a little tickets tab, and then you can see, all of our tickets that are available. We have 3 Edgar Allan Poe experiences running this year and 2 Sleepy Hollow experiences. So no matter where you're at in the country, there's probably one that you can attend.
That is awesome. And by the way, do you have a social media presence as well?
Yeah. So if you go to Facebook, Instagram, look up Brian Clowdus Experiences. Also, we're on YouTube. We're on Pinterest. So look us up, Brian Clowdus Experiences, on all of those outlets.
That is awesome. And laughers, we'll be sure to put all that information for you in the show notes as well. Plus, remember, you could get that Laugh 15 discount with Pre-Popsterous popcorn at prepopsterous.com. That's PREPOPSTEROUS.com. Thank you for coming on the show, Brian. This has been so fun. I really feel like I met a soul brother. I think very similarly than you. I do.
Yeah, you're fabulous.
I feel samesies, Brian, about you. Samesies.
Love it.
This has been great chatting up with you about immersive experiences and all things the Edgar Allan Poe experience coming to the Virginia Quilt Museum. I learned so much. Thanks again for coming on the show.
Thank you for having me.
You bet. And laughers, get your tickets and venture, if you dare, into the mind of the grandfather of the thriller, Edgar Allan Poe, as he is admitted into the hospital asylum for his final days. As the doctors and nurses try to subdue Edgar, he sees them transformed before his very eyes into his most iconic characters. You, too, will experiencing a maddening visit from the raven in the night and hear the harrowing story of the telltale heart, become a witness to the fall of the House of Usher, and attend a haunted dinner party hosted by a most mysterious red masked man. Are you a guest at Edgar's funeral soiree? Are you a fellow patient in the asylum? Buy tickets today at www.virginiaquiltmuseum.org or at brianclowdus.com. Also, be sure to get that Pre-Popsterous today using that promo code LAUGH15 so you can munch on it when you join me on next week's episode. And lastly, and most importantly, thanks for tuning in, laughers. Out of all the podcasts out there, you picked us, and we think that's pretty darn special, just like you. Until next time, keep smiling. Bye.
Bye.
Thanks for tuning in to this episode of Virginia is for Laughers podcast, brought to you by X2 Comedy. We'll be dropping a new podcast every Wednesday, so check back for another uplifting episode. Come to an X2 Comedy show or let us bring one to you. To find out more, head to x2comedy.com. Be sure to share this podcast with a friend, and until next time, cheers.